Our daily lives are now defined by a constant stream of noise. Between the relentless scrolling and the dopamine-driven feedback loops, the average person's attention is being pulled in 1,000 different directions every hour. In this environment, your focus is a resource. It is captured, measured, and converted into revenue. Tech corporations have turned human consciousness into a data stream, harvested through the very interfaces we use to navigate the world. But there is a sharp divide between the world these corporations built for us and the world their leaders built for themselves. The architects of this digital landscape often choose to live outside the structures they designed. Deep within the private estates of Silicon Valley, the children of these tech giants grew up in environments that were completely devoid of screens. The creators of our most addictive tools implemented strict protocols to ensure their own families remained insulated from the technology. When a chef refuses to eat the food they serve to the public, it suggests they possess a knowledge of the ingredients that the diners do not. If the architects recognized a need to shield their own children, we have to look closer at the choices they made for the rest of society. The software powering our devices is built to exploit primitive neurological vulnerabilities. These algorithms prioritize engagement by mapping out the precise frequencies required to trigger a human response. By creating constant dopamine spikes, the platforms ensure that users remain trapped in a loop. The longer an eye stays on the screen, the more valuable the user becomes to the business model. Bill Gates was one of the first to recognize the risk these loops pose to a developing mind. Within his own household, he enforced a strict 45-minute digital curfew. This was a specific strategy to prevent the erosion of deep focus, ensuring his children maintained the cognitive endurance required for complex, linear thought. Steve Jobs took an even more radical approach when it came to his own flagship creations. Despite launching a device that would change how the world interacts with information, Jobs banned the iPad from his home. He saw how the touch interface could dissolve the boundary between the child and the machine, and he decided the risk was too high for his family. A firewall is a defensive measure used against a known threat. By building these digital barriers around their own homes, these creators treated their own inventions as a risk to be managed, even as they scaled that same risk to billions of people. Elon Musk adopted a filter based on functional orientation. His children were allowed into the digital stream, but primarily as creators of code rather than passive consumers of it. This approach acknowledges a fundamental hazard of the medium. Consuming the code leads to influence and cognitive degradation, while engineering the code allows one to retain control. The contrast between their private lives and their public deployment is stark. While they maintained firewalled environments for their heirs, they pushed the unmitigated hazard to a global scale. They took this side effect, the degradation of human attention, and optimized it, transforming cognitive vulnerability into their primary revenue stream. The result is a world where the ability to focus has been privatized. The architects ensured their families kept the cure, while the rest of the planet was exposed to the contagion. This global deployment has resulted in a new type of social divide, a planet-wide digital class system. On one side, we have a global public trained by algorithms to be reactive and hyperstimulated. They exist in a state of constant fragmentation, their attention divided into billion-dollar pieces. On the other side is the elite class of architects. By insulating their own bloodlines, they have preserved the ancient and increasingly valuable ability to think deeply and maintain focus. The widespread cognitive decay in the general public mirrors the growth of the attention economy. The designers optimized for a world of noise, while reserving the silence for themselves. We have long viewed these figures as innovators, dealing with the unexpected consequences of their success. But the specific private precautions they established for their own families suggest a clarity of foresight that changes the nature of their responsibility to the public. To push back against this architecture, we have to move outside of the loops they designed. Sharing this information directly, by liking, subscribing, and passing it on, is one way to bypass the algorithms and keep the signal alive.